Hey, this is Brent, and today I want to talk about the accelerometer, and I'm here in Flash Professional CS5. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to use their template. I want to show you. It's fairly simple how to work with the accelerometer. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to run the example, and we're going to show it on a device. And then I want to show you how to reuse the code so that you can make it more accessible for use in like Flash Builder or any other ActionScript editor, Flash Develop, stuff like that. So in Flash CS5.5 we have this thing that says create from template. Go ahead and choose Air for Android, and it's going to pop up and it's going to give us a few templates that we can choose from. We want the accelerometer template. Go ahead and click that, click OK. Now at this point it's going to present us with a cool little screen. It's got a nice ball graphic, and let's see this all on the screen here, and we have nice grid and nice layout. So let's go ahead and save this, and we're going to call this Accelerometer Demo. Go ahead and click save. Now when we work with this file, notice here if I scroll down, has template instructions, and those say, hey, if you want to modify this, open the actions panel and click on the actions layer. So here in the timeline, notice that we have an actions layer, and then we have this first frame which has some code in it. Now over here I've got this tabbed, the actions window is hooked to this button here. So in order to do that, it's fairly simple. If I drag that away, it becomes its own screen. So if I click window and I choose actions, then I have my own screen, but it's kind of a large screen. But if I click and drag it, and notice how when I get close it kind of does this blue highlight to show where it would place it. If I put it right here, then it's going to constrain it within this view. So that works out. So let's go ahead and keep it that way. Let's take a look at this. So here we have the code on the timeline, and let's walk through it, see what it does, and then we'll test it on the device. Now, first we start out, and because we're working with the accelerometer, we create a new accelerometer object. Then we add an event listener, and we're listening for an update event. The update event will return some information. When that update event comes, we're going to call this function. Now this function will receive the accelerometer event, and on that event we have the acceleration X and acceleration Y. Now what we are doing is we're assigning it to a variable so that we can access it outside of this function, and the reason for that is, one, we're getting updates as the accelerometer event fires, and then we also want to do an event listener, an Interframe, so that we can move the ball. And notice, of course, this is reference to a ball. If I hide this, if I click here, notice it says ball is the instance name, so that's referencing this on the stage. Click back to the actions. Oh, it didn't like it. Oh, click back, select that frame, choose actions. There we go. All right, now we're adding an event listener for the Interframe. So every time we get an Interframe, every frame per second, we want to move the ball, and we want to move the ball based on the acceleration X and Y values which we get from the accelerometer event. And what we're doing then is we're modifying this, the X and Y of the ball, to work with that. Now notice how there's this times feature, and the reason for that is that the value that we receive is going to be in a very small range with lots of decimal places, like order of 16 digits or something. Anyway, the point is that value is so small that it won't have a big effect on the XY coordinates. So we're going to times that by 30 to give it more of some movement, to simulate movement. So that's what this code does. Now this code here really just identifies that, hey, if the ball has hit the edge, then we want to make sure that the ball is not going beyond the edge, and so we establish 480 wide, 800 tall, And there you go. Now, when we run this on the device, the interesting thing is with Flash on the stage, by default, it's going to scale. Now, we can work with that so that when we run it on a device like a tablet, it will scale to fit. Now, sometimes you don't like that, and you can always change that, and I'll talk about that in another tutorial. But for now, just understand that these widths will not be directly related to the device because this will automatically scale. All right, go ahead and close away from that. Click away from the stage. Now, we're ready to test on our device. So click the Edit Application Settings, and we've done this before because you've watched my other tutorials. We want this to be full screen. We want portrait, and auto orientation we don't want because the device will move and we want to get the acceleration information, and we don't want to rotate the screen. We want to keep it set. So go ahead and keep it there. Click over to deployment. Remember, you've got your self-signed certificate. Go ahead and enter your password. Remember it. We want device release, and then we want to install and launch it. Now, I've got this cool little thing here. I've got this point to view webcam, which allows me to set this up on my desktop. Now, the camera I was using before is a real camcorder, and it'll give a much better picture, but it has some disadvantages for me. One, I have to set it up, record it on the video, and then I have to transfer that video. I have to add it to this and edit and blah, blah, blah. You don't really care, but this makes it a little easier. Now, it's not the same high quality, but it certainly gives me room to work with, and there's a lot of different things I can do. So I'm going to experiment with it. Besides, it's really nice to be able to switch back and forth. Now, what it did is it started to fall asleep, so the exposure changed. Anyway, this ain't no camera class. This is how to work with the accelerometer. Now, I'm using the cool Samsung Galaxy Tab, and let's go ahead and run this. So, click back over here. We got all of our stuff set up. Go ahead and click Publish. It's going to export it. We're going to watch as it magically appears. As it counts down, here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, there it is. Now, check this out. Obviously, my desk is at a slight angle because the ball is moving and I haven't even touched the device. Now, again, what's happening is we're getting accelerometer data, and I'm having it adjust the ball. Now, I have to tell you that it is much smoother on the device. Of course, this camera is a little lower resolution, so it doesn't have the same frame rate. So it does look a little less clear, but you get the point, right? Besides, you're going to run this on your own device and everything works great. But I think it's interesting that when I set it down, obviously my desk is sloped a little bit. All right, very good. So click back over here. Now, we're going to look at this, and it says, hey, mister, there's a warning. Now, you may have seen this before, but hey, it says, hey, there's no permissions. Now, when we click over here to permissions, now none of these permissions really apply to what we do, but it is good to keep a habit of having permissions, specifically because when you upload it, Android's going to say, hey, are you sure about that? And most of the time you're going to have permissions, so you might as well set that just as a reminder. Go back, we'll click OK. Now we're back. All right, cool. That was easy. That's how the accelerometer works, right? Let's look at that code one more time. I'm going to click the action layer, click the frame, click over here. Now, again, we create an accelerometer object, we add an event listener, we listen for the update event. Then, when we get that update event, we're going to assign it to a variable, the acceleration x and acceleration y, and then we're going to use that variable to modify the x and y coordinates of the ball. And we're going to move that ball across the screen. If you change this value up, it'll go faster and move quicker. These values represent the width of the actual screen, which is kind of being faked, if so to speak, because the device is scaling the app automatically. It's scaling it. All right, very good. Now, I'm really glad they gave us this demo template, and it works. But at this point I want to clean it up a little bit. I want to put it in a document class so that you can reuse this code in Flash Builder or any of your other favorite ActionScript editors.